By the way, everybody knows that I went over the disclaimer, but for some reason the webinar didn't start on the recording. So just to let everybody know, the disclaimer was clearly stated at the first of this webinar. So we'll go ahead and get started. And it's also on the screen right here, so please pause it and read it. For some reason, it didn't start the recorder. My fault or something, I don't know. I clicked it. Anyway, no big deal. Let's just go ahead and start the webinar. Okay, first off, Lewis, on your question, and that's a good question too, by the way, what I like to do personally is diagnose my charts first off, okay? I don't like to short against markets that are going up, unless I'm just really in a scalping mood, something like that, okay? Now, on this chart, what does everybody see so far? I mean, you've definitely got higher lows here, and you've obviously got a high here, another high here, and a high here, and even a high here, and we don't know what's after that. So it's sideways to up though, right? Arnie got that one, but it is up. So we're looking for retraces when it's up. Now keep in mind that our indicators will also tell you, the mid-band C here is red and then rose color, then magenta, then red again. Now it's green, lime green, and then it's yellow, then it's lime green, then it's blue. So this is definitely stair-stepping up, okay? So the reason I wanted to show you that without any prices on the chart first is that you can clearly see that you are stepping up. And this is a real chart, by the way. This just doesn't have the actual price bars on it. They're there, but they're transparent. Okay. Let me show you just for some new people in the room tonight. I'll show something else here. And this is the chart that I really like. And by the way, this is on the website under the members login. You're welcome to put that template in your template folder. It's called the webinar template. And I just named it that because I used it in webinars. Okay. But this also clearly shows that you have a low down here, a high here, a higher low, but we don't know that's a higher low until it takes out this swing, which it did. See across there if you drew a line. And then you've got a higher low, but we don't know that's a higher low yet because it hasn't actually taken out this high here yet. Everybody see that? So what I normally do, just like we teach in the room, is draw lines on my chart, okay, of where support is. And I also know that my ultimate support is right down here at this very moment, okay? So now by knowing that, I'm pretty much ready to, get into some trades basically by using trend lines, boxes, and, getting some decent trades. And we're going to talk about even adding 2 trades tonight too, if I can get around to it. Okay. So let's just go ahead and look at the actual chart itself. Bear with me a second. And we're going to have these same lines at 5142 and 5124, but let me go ahead and get that. And here we go. See your 5124 and 5142. So let's draw those lines again. And we're basically ready to trade. Now, one of my personal favorite trades, and I know sometimes that this one, you've got to really trade this trade just almost like religiously, so to speak. You have to, if you're going to get in the habit of taking this particular trade, you're going to have to just take it. And what you want to do is you want to scalp it at first, okay? Because this is actually a phantom trade that's setting up right now. Does everybody see that? Okay, I've talked about this particular trade. And by the way, it is on our website under the member login. Let me go to our member login and show any new people in here tonight. Bear with me a second. I'll go to my member login. And we'll be there in just one second. There we go. All right, this is my member login right here. Welcome, Gary. All right, now down here, somebody's new to Viper, and you're a member now. Be sure and look at this. I've got a video right here that's actually, I think, very important. Some of our people mentioned that this was a really good webinar to really look at identified swings, and just a super important webinar. Okay, so be sure and look at this webinar here, identified swings and, are super important. And then also the phantom trades. And we're going to do another one. Matter of fact, Charles did a webinar on mid-band trades on Saturday. And I think even, his basically on Saturday wasn't necessarily about the mid-bands, but it was confidence in trading, getting that confidence to take those trades. Now, I want to show you one thing, though, that I want you to be very, very careful of. When you're sideways like this and you got this background like this, be very careful with mid-band trades, because I can clearly show you where, for instance, let's say that let's just pretend this was 8 o'clock in the morning. We don't care that it's 8 o'clock at night. But what you want to be really careful of is taking mid-bands with this background right here. Okay? Because, for instance, if you were to box this in looking longs only, let's say you boxed it in right here even, or maybe waited for it to pop up above mid-band, and then you boxed it like so, all right? Then you didn't get a trade yet, okay? So you box it in again, so if it comes above mid-band, to give an example, and what happens, you get a little bit, and then they pretty much crater it in your face. Okay, that's what they do when they're going sideways. They basically give you, little scalp trades. And could this be scalped? Absolutely, it can be scalped. For instance, if we saw this trade in real time, we would have drawn a trend line right through here and pretty much nailed that trade. Especially when it's a deep bar probe like that, and you could have gotten a pretty decent little trade. Okay, we're going to talk about several of those tonight. All right, but let's look where we're at right now, because we can't trade this because it's already happened, right? But we can trade this. If this phantom is going to actually set up here, could I actually trade this trade? And this is oil, so this is $10 a tick. So let's put Object Trader on, and we're going to just simply take a trade if this actually bounces off of our phantom. Okay, now to me, the phantom, just like I teach in the webinar, is actually line 2 to line 1. Okay. Now, like I say, I don't like mid-band trades in this stuff right here, because I'm here to tell you, I'd be in down here and I'd be taking coin. Okay. I'd be in down here when this predictor showed up and I'd be taking coin. I'd be in here if this popped back above line 2 and take some coin. Okay. That way you're getting, you're not just holding a trade. Would you want to just hold this trade? Okay, let's say that you were lucky enough to get in down here. So then I'm holding, I'm up $150, $200, and then I'm back down to zero. That's not the way to trade that. It's just like I taught in the trading room this morning, actually. Okay, so let's just try this for the fun of it for like 10 ticks and just see if we can get some 10 tickers. All right, I'll go 10 ticks, one target only. And I'm not going to go with like a 15 tick stop. I'll go with, I'll actually go with line 0. We'll just watch it. Okay. So basically I put this in the middle of the night and kind of downloaded this stuff. So we're just going to take some trades and see if we can get something. Now, keep in mind that resistance is right over here to the left. Okay. Now, if it continues breaking, let me show you what I would also be looking at. If this continues breaking, comes back and kisses, and I get a red background, I'm going to look for a rollover trade. But in the meantime, this support line, if it holds, I'm going to just try to nail a trade and get 10 ticks. Let's just see if we can do that. All right, we're technically already almost there, see, because if that bar closes up, we could actually get that trade. So let's turn bar close on, and we'll do 10 ticks only if the bar closes up. And we're only going to go for 10 ticks. And I'm going to put my stop just more down under this predictor right here. Let's see if we get that. Now, if it slaps me, we're going to be down a little bit, and we'll find out. Okay, now that was just a bar close rather than a box or a trend line. But you could actually take the box or the trend line too. Okay. This one's going to hit me twice, it looks like. That's all right. We'll see what it does. Still testing support. It's back above. Now it's back below. Is it going to break down? What do y'all think? Now, if you're going to trust phantom trades, I got to tell you this. You pretty much have to actually trust the trade to be a phantom. Okay. And then don't set it to like reverse. You know, for instance, if you put this to reverse at stop, this is liable to just barely go down into here and then pop right back up. But if we were going to change directions, this would actually break this support, pull back and kiss it, and then roll, and that's where we'll take it. But we'll go ahead and put a stop in, well, like I say, just down here, just under this predictor for now. Now, I'd be chancing losing 180 bucks on that trade. If that's a little bit steep, then, you know, you can't really take these phantom trades because we're expecting it to stay above, you know, that line 1 to 2 and not dig down into that shadowed area, because if it does, it's going to change the background. Okay, let's see if we can get 10 ticks. Now, if it'll pop above this little swing here, I'll go ahead and bring my stop up to here. See the swing? Watch that lightning turn green if it closes. Looks like we're going to hit our target anyway. We did. Okay, we got a target. So there we got, looks like 10 ticks, right? Okay. Now, you want to see if we can get another one, and we'll even use like a box or whatever. You want to try that? See what we can get? Okay, let's see if we can get something else. All right, I got support right here. We're sideways. We didn't go up and take out this swing yet. We'll look for another trade right down in this area. We'll see if we can get one. I'll do a region. And a region, by the way, for anybody that's new to trading Viper and everything, when a region draws, it draws right about the price that you're at. Okay, but you don't have to leave it there, and you can even add to the trade and things like that, because I can actually move this box wherever I want it. Okay, like say if I thought I could get a 1 to 2 type trade, I could turn this on at the bottom, like for a touch, plus say a couple, and I could also even see if it goes back in this box, and then even move the box to take a trade too, based on like lightning, to give an example. Let's see if we can get a trade. This is strictly using the box for what it's meant to be used for. Now, we haven't retraced as of yet. We're not breaking out yet either. You know, we're just trying to scalp this a little bit. Also get in the habit of watching these little jewels right here. See this predictor right here? That's trying to tell me that by this price action, that it's going to come down here instead. Okay, so I could actually even use a tool that we've got called Predictor, and that will simply look for a trade right off that predictor. Okay, and then I can even turn this on, for instance, and get that trade if I want. Okay, but tonight we're going to be talking about regions and trend lines, so we'll go ahead and just redraw the box. I'll go ahead and hit insert, and we're not tagged on because see the long enabled, short enabled is not turned on. So I'm going to see if I can get right down there at that bottom for a long, and we'll let it go within a couple of ticks of that predictor. If it'll get there, may not. Now, by the way, if this was to decide to go ahead and break up, I could go ahead and put the box to come out of the top too. See how that just kissed support right there? It's trying to bounce a little bit. Let's see if we get down to that predictor. Now that predictor's here. So I can move this box in real time. Now my box is right there. My predictor. Like I say, those predictors can be pretty good for your trading, especially when they're sideways. Notice that you had a predictor, 10 ticks, a predictor, 10 ticks. Here's your other predictor right here. Let's see if we can get it. It might. Okay, we're just going to go for 10 ticks again, okay? If it gets near the bottom of this within 2 ticks, there's our trade. Okay. Now it went down a little bit lower. It's right into the predictor. And let's see if it pops on up. Okay. Now notice that we're still about the same we were, a couple of $100. Okay. Giving us a little bit of grief, but not that much yet. Let's see if we can get this. Now, if it breaks this little swing, it'll change green. Let's see if it does. If it closes. I'm going to go ahead and put my stop just under predictor. Now, if this goes ahead and pops up, I'll bring my stop just under here. But you got to get it starting to stair step before you put your stop this tight. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could always take one off by just simply hitting sell. Looks like we're going to get another trade, though. There's another 10 ticks. There's $400. Okay? Does everybody see how you can box that in and do some pretty nice trading like that? Okay? Now, if you're more of a conservative trader and that was a little tough for you, then the best thing to do, if you draw your lines on your chart, you'll notice that it came down to support and just popped right back above it. Right back above it. Okay? Let's see. I know the time frame just passed, but that was scary. To me, that's not a scary trade because I can tell you this. Let me show you something, Mindy, that I really like. Now, keep in mind that this would be more with like a one-up account or something like that. But did you know that if you saw this happening and you said, okay, I've got a green background, I've got a mid-band that's blue, I could actually put a trade in right here and put a stop 24 ticks down. And usually as a rule, it will not get it. It doesn't take this phantom out. If it's going to change trends. And so what if I put a trade here with, let's say just one contract to give an example. Okay. And what if this actually didn't come all the way down to here? A lot of people put like 20 tick stops on a trade and then, just let it do its thing. There's been many times where I've traded like gold, where it just goes sideways forever, and then it does this right here, just barely takes out support, and then it probably takes off. We don't know that yet, but this may take off. Okay? But you'll find that actually, if you do a mid-band trade, try to see first off where they come down, where they come up, and then kind of split it and try to get the trade in the middle of it. For instance, like let's say that this comes all the way down here, and you're seeing it here. So you just say, okay, look at this box. I'd probably put a trade right in through here, somewhere about the middle of that box. And if it tags it, just go long on it. And then look at that. Came all the way down to there. You felt some heat, didn't you? But that is definitely a way to actually get some of these monster runs that they ping around down here at Phantom. Because what was this fib number, to give an example? Let's just see. See, on a fib, they came down to 61%, and then they even broke 61%. They almost got to 76.4 on their retracement. So, just trusting the fib, you couldn't very well, there's nobody that's going to know how much they're going to go sideways first. There's just no way to tell it. So the best way to do, in my opinion, when it's sideways, is buy predictor, 10 ticks, buy predictor, 10 ticks, buy predictor, 10 ticks. And that seems to work. Now, you could also see that you've got lower highs as we go across here. Could you actually, just in case this decides to break up, could you draw a trend line? Like with wedge, we got a high here, got a low right through there. And see, that one actually tagged it. So I would probably bring this up instead to there. And then since this has actually tagged it perfectly, I'd probably move it out of the way just a little bit. And you could actually even try that trade for even more of probably a runner if it breaks that trend line. Okay. Simply because what they're doing is they're holding support. You can clearly see that. Okay. And if you look at this had headed down, down, down. Then it got like a double bottom with a big wick on a big candle. And then you had a thrust, retrace, thrust. So you're actually going higher highs and higher lows, right? So far, that's a higher low than this. And so I would expect this more than likely to do something like this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I'll bet you it'll do. Let's just see if it did it first. Thrust retrace. Yeah, it did that one really close anyway. Okay, and when they don't fulfill that leg 1, leg 2, and leg 3 being larger like that, I usually go instead to like this one, and then I go down here to the bottom one instead. And then I go here, and I draw a line. And I go here and draw a line. Like so. This is kind of like, counting Elliott's. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Elliott's, but, as a rule, leg 1, a good leg 2, leg 3 will be as big as leg 1, almost to the penny of it, just literally. And you see me draw that in the room quite a bit, and it does work quite well. All right, but let's just see if we can get another trade. We got that one off predictor. We're going to either get a predictor trade again, or we're going to break this trend line. Let's see what happens here. I don't know why that fired on my wedge. Well, we got it somehow, but long inside touch plus 0. That shouldn't have fired on that wedge, but we'll take it, and I'll just keep my stop down here. We'll just, hopefully we don't give that whole 430 back. All right, we'll put a target up here, and straight across this, where that top is. Okay. I'm not sure why that fired on that wedge. Let me see here just real quick. Okay, wedge. I'm going to redraw it even. We'll just put it about there. And we'll put it for outside. Okay, so that's the top of the wedge. Everybody sees that, right? Anytime the price is below it, that's the top. All right, now if we do break down, we're going to look at a different trade. Okay, but right now with this midband being blue, Phantom's holding, you are stair-stepping up. It has been sideways for quite a while. And when you're in this background, remember, you're wanting to scalp. Okay? Now, if this is finally going to break up, if it breaks that trend line, then you could actually, do more into the larger, for instance, if I did like 3, to give an example, that'd be more like boxing that in at midband, if it was to break it. Okay? Your wedge can actually be, just in case, let's say you only want to go 1 on this if it happens to break this. And I'm going to show you how to actually add to it if it actually breaks it. We'll take the box off. Okay, right now I'm only going to look for 1, just in case this decides to get a lower high and roll over. Okay, let's see what it does here. My wedge is drawn. Okay, it looks like it got it. Now, by the way, you can actually even turn your long on again and even add. For instance, if it breaks that same trend line again, I can go ahead and add a contract by just simply turning that wedge back on. Touch plus, let's just say touch plus 1. All right, we'll put our stop. Where it's at's fine. Yeah, where it's at's fine. For right now, let's see. Okay, there's 2. Okay, and we could go ahead and put our stop just in case. So you got a little ledge here. We could put our stop just right under here, just in case this isn't breaking up. Okay, so we got 2. It looks like we may get hit too. See how it just barely broke that trend line? Yep, we got hit. Let's try it again, see if we get something. Okay, let's draw our support again, right across here. Predictor. What do you think about that beautiful predictor? You want to take it if it does? Let's go ahead and put this here. And we'll even more or less box it too. And I'll try to even get this predictor if I can. Let's see if we can get it. Okay, now see this little wedge? You could reposition this real easily or draw another one. Everybody see that? Thrust, retrace. See if we can get a trade. We did lose some on that one. That's okay. Not every single trade's going to totally work. See if we can get a trade on that. I'd go ahead and redraw that wedge, and you can do that in real time, by the way. See how that wicked that? You can redraw it. Still retracing down so far, isn't it? Now, if it tags that support and bounces, I'm going to grab that. Pops up above it, that would be fine too. All right, we got one. Let's see if we get something out of this. Now, this sideways type trading right here, you know, this is where you got to really watch. I usually watch my P&L itself and see if I can get a decent P&L on it, because I still see this hasn't checked the support right down here. And it's actually been down there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So, you know, they could easily check it again. All right, I'd usually probably see what that bar does. Nope, still not heading up just yet. Are we going to get this trade? Well, we didn't get down to predictor quite yet. Let's get rid of the trend lines and let's see if we can get predictor. We got one on. My stop's right down here. I'm going to go ahead and do exit on close, because just in case, I don't want them to take me out. Because I've got support right down here. Anybody ever trade at 3 o'clock in the morning? I get up around 5-ish, not 3. There's your support right there. It's right on top of predictor to the left. It hadn't hit this one yet, though. I'd probably draw a trend line. And go ahead and add one if it takes it out. See, because I'm still looking for longs, right? I'm not shorting. There you go. You just got 2. All right. Let's get one out of the way. One up here. Oh, I got rid of my lines, didn't I? Remember where I drew those boxes? We'll just play it by ear instead. There you go. There you go. Decent little trade, right? Okay. Now, could you also use a trend line to get out of this trade? And the answer is actually yes, you can. I use trend lines all the time to get out of my trades. Now, what if you weren't in anything and this happened to you in real time? Okay. Now, what I see personally happening right now, if let's say you missed this trade entirely. Okay. You see a little trend line you could draw right there? Anybody? Is that a little risky? Well, I probably wouldn't do it if I had 2 contracts on. That's plenty. But what if you were flat and you said, you know what? I think I'm going to take that. If it happens to break that little trend line to the upside, and you could try that, right? Because it's like boxing it in a way. You're just drawing a trend line on it. Let's see, when you get a chance, what do you think about my above comment? Let me see, Lewis. Continually take phantoms, providing midband and direction corresponds. Yeah, you absolutely want to take the phantom type trades. Now, keep in mind, these predictors are not there just to look like bubbles on your screen. Notice how they hit them, how they hit them, how they hit them. If they miss them, that's not a trade. How they came down to this one and hit this one. I usually draw a line on mine and I watch 2 predictors. And if they're close together, I draw my lines on my chart. And this is where I would have been expecting that trade to actually be, would be either on top of that predictor with a bounce or on top of that predictor with a bounce. Because the predictors are pretty good at making sure you get in a trade at the right spot. And also, by the way, that you can take some money off of the trade too. Okay. Now, another way you can do this, by the way, is What I like to personally do, and some of our other people do, is watch these stealth. See where that green stealth showed up right there? You look for the second one. Okay. So for instance, you're not taking these shorts, by the way. These are red stealths. Those are not shorts. Those are just retracements. Okay. Now, if you actually had 510 for the day, by the way, now granted, 510, if you did that 5 days a week, $2,550 times 52 weeks, that's a decent living, but some people like to have more than that to live on, you know, but that's basically only, a couple of 3 trades and taken just the way we teach them too. Now, if you missed something like this, remember, you've got to at least get to touch stealth or take out stealth and line 6. Okay. Now, I listened to Charles's webinar on Saturday. Anyway, basically what he was teaching was only mid-band trades, and I understood that. But, to me, there are still some good trades on a chart besides mid-band trades, lots of good trades. And when you're in this choppy stuff like this, mid-bands will eat your lunch. I promise you they will. Okay. But the phantom trades won't. And the predictor type trades, they won't. See, you got to wait for it to come into, the first retracement. And then you just got to kind of draw your lines on your chart. And you could clearly see where you were buying support, buying support, buying support. And that works. But what if instead I would have been boxing in? Let's say I boxed in this right here, for instance, said, you know what? If that goes long, I'm going to take me a long trade. Well, it went out of it by a tick, and then it was right back in my face. So then what if I said, well, you know what? I'm going to take another long trade. So I boxed it in again, and it wicked me in and took me out again. See what I mean? That could have closed too, by the way. It depends on how you drew your box. See, because that candle just has to close outside that box, and that looks to me like it might have closed outside that box. Even though it closed down, it still closed very possibly outside the box. Depends on where you drew it. Okay. Now, where mid-bands work very, very well is when you get a green background and then you look for the first retracement. I like those. But in this choppy stuff right here, where this background is this color right here, this little yellow mustardy looking color, this area right here, you want to take these trades. Okay, we already showed it works. Okay, but let's say that, for instance, you weren't in anything just yet. Okay, you could see that you got support down here. So right here at this swing, so you could draw a ray, for instance. Just draw it straight across there. Matter of fact, even with stealth or something like that, a little bit of an angle. If it touches stealth, maybe you could get a trade. What if it breaks this trend line right here? So in other words, what you could actually do is, bear with me a second, I'll show you. Let's say you wanted to do something like that with stealth. Now this is telling you that this is a wedge right here. This is the T button and this is the B button. Okay, I'm not looking for a short. So if I was to do this, I could actually do something like this. And if it touches one tick outside here, it would fire it. And if it touches one tick inside this wedge, it would fire it. Okay, let's see if we can get something. Is it going to be at the bottom of it or the top of it? We'll find out. Pretty close to the bottom of it. Maybe. Didn't quite get close enough to the bottom. So it'll probably break out the top. Yep, well, there you go. Broke out of the top in a beautiful trade. Okay, so now we got one left on here. We'd simply put our stop underneath the swing and we'd ride our runner. Okay. Does everybody see how you can do these kind of trades? Like I talk about in the room a lot of times, what you want to do is you want to be careful with trades, but if they go your direction, why should you miss out on a good trade? You know, when you know where it's going to retrace to, you know, just draw your lines on your chart. You know, like say you have a swing right across here that they checked. You got another swing right over here. And you got two lines, and look where they checked it, and then they took off. You know, so if you drew your line a little bit better than I did touch plus one. If I would have done touch plus two, I would have gotten the trade down here instead of here. Okay. What if you miss a trade like this? Okay. Let's just say you missed it, and this is where it's sitting right now. What do you think? Now that's getting into a little bit more of a thrust that I don't trust as much to jump in it unless you get some kind of a pullback. Okay. So let's let predictor and midband dictate to us where we can take a trade. Okay. Let's see here. We got midband right here. That's already been there. It's already been there, so I doubt it's going to come there again. Midband may jump up by the time we get in it, so now we'll draw another line right on top of that swing, and we'll draw one more line on top of that swing. And let's see if predictor actually draws us or midband gets us into a trade. I'll fast forward this and see. By the way, anytime you're looking at charts too, keep in mind that you also have got to know where these things can actually go the other direction. Okay. Because what goes up can sure come down too. Okay. That just hit that predictor. Now this would be a little bit more chasing it to me. I doubt that I would have done this one here. This was a beautiful trend line because you had a little bit of sideways motion first. So you drew your trend line. See how this is just stair stepping up so far? You can't really just jump in these. If you didn't get it down here or on a trend line break or something like that, you've got to wait for the retracement. Okay, now let's look to the left to trade the right. Got a little swing right there. Midband's right there. Got to look to the left and see where your swings are. Let's see if we can get a trade. Thrust. Okay, let's see. Thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace. Okay, so primary swing, secondary swing, and this is more of a third swing, and that's also midband. Predictor is saying right here at that little green circle. Okay, could you be ready to take this trade, anybody? Well, we drew our lines on our chart already, so if this does actually come down and kiss that line, I will probably go ahead and trigger a trade. But could you actually box it in like we teach? Matter of fact, let's just do a little region box. Let's see if we can. All right, I'm going to do a region box. And we're thinking it's at least coming down to here. So I'm going to put the bottom of it right there. The top of it, let's see, your thrust retrace, you're heading down a little bit. But they would have to break out of this swing right here for me to take it, and that's too close to the top. So I'm not going to take that. Everybody can see that, right? That's where you would be chasing that trade to just right there. There we go. May have missed that. Yep, missed it. Gosh, it hit my line exactly too. I didn't get my box changed quick enough. Now, should you chase this trade right here? No, I don't think so. Let's just see if we can still get it. If we don't, we just don't. We're going to wait for a thrust and a pullback if it doesn't. Like I say, I wouldn't take this top trade at all. We want this bottom one. Predictor is right here. Right, just below midband. Midband trades are good though, by the way, and you can put a pretty tight stop. This shouldn't go any lower than right here if it even comes down below midband. So let's see if we can get a trade. Okay, we're in the trade. Let's just hope it works. Now, does everybody see how long that took to do all those bars and everything? We got a yellow dot here. That's lightning 3, by the way. Now, if you draw your lightning 3 on your charts, see if I can get lightning 3 to draw. See how lightning 3 is right there? So let me ask you a question. If this breaks here, is this my new identified swing on lightning 3? And the answer would be yes, but it would have to break this right here. Now, if you're just going to short this, if it breaks lightning 3, you got to be careful and don't let it go against you. But we watch for that lightning 3 to be broken. If it gets broken, there you go. Go ahead and put our stop at line 6. And see if we get any more of a trade. You could even put it here if you wanted to. That's a little tight for me. I'd probably go at least line 6. And by the way, we've got a trend deal for that. You just simply choose line 6 and trail enabled and engage the trail. Move your target out of the way and your stop's right there. Okay? And you've got you a good trade going, by the way. All right, so let's just fast forward this a little bit. I want to see if anybody can catch some trades, okay? I'm not going to trigger the trade. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys and gals trigger the trade for me. That's going to stop us, I can tell. A lot of times when you see this like this, where it just comes down and they try their dead level best to get line 6, see how they nailed it? So I'm out of that trade. All right, where do you think the next trade is on this chart? Anybody? Draw on your charts. And let's see if we can get a trade. And we're going to do a box. Go ahead and get rid of the region box for just a minute. Put it back on. And let's see if we can get a box. Let's see, thrust retrace, that's definitely a low. Okay, this is support because they've already checked right there or close to it. And midband is right down here. So we'd be looking for a trade right in this area right here. Okay. And we'll see if we can get a bounce there. Now, where would this trade, if it does decide to break down, where would it actually do that? If it took this out, right? So you could always be ready for it to even change if it takes that out. Remember, we looked at that in real time. So we're seeing lightning 3. All right, let's see if we can get a trade. Kind of topping out so far, isn't it? Let's see if we can get a trade. We got to wait for it to at least get down to midband. Now, what's that red stealth right there? What do you think, team? What do you think on that? Could that be a bounce area? Well, you could go ahead and box it so that you could get this trade if it did pop back above midband. Just to give an example, here's your resistance right here, right? So you could do this outside the box with resistance, right in that area right there. And if it does break this, you could get a phantom trade, right? But if they do break this, could we also be looking for a pullback and very possibly a short if it happens to break? If it does. That's why you got to look at your charts to see what they're going to do. Now, if you box this under midband, you might already be short, right? But that would be a risky trade. To me, that's support right there. Now, I would probably, if they do break this, I would probably do something like this. Turn that on. If that did break, I might try 1. See where that's at support right there? If it breaks that box with a close. Let's just do it with a close. See something like that. Now, the thing is, though, you wouldn't really want that to go back against you very much, right? Because what kind of a trade is that, team? That's a phantom, isn't it? So, see, by doing that, you made the wrong move because that is a phantom so far. Now, wouldn't the trader be smarter that actually jumped in at line 2 long instead of short. But now this looks like it's going to break down though because of that big stealth red right there. So I'll trust it and leave the stop right at mid-band since we already got it. And if you wanted to add to it, you could always bring your box down like so. And you could also, if this does decide to break up, if this is a phantom, we could also be ready to take this to the long side like that. Everybody see that? Because we don't know for sure what it's going to do right now. We broke support, and now we're feeling a little bit of heat on a trade that we got in a little at the wrong spot, probably. Yeah, technically this is an uptrend, Lewis, except for one thing. It broke that support to the left. When it breaks that support to the left, they'll usually go back through and kiss it and then take it out. Because see, this is pretty much telling you on Lightning 3, high, low, higher high. So that's definitely a level of support. And they did break it. Now you could even do something like this if this does decide to roll over. I'll just get this out of the way here. I don't care about the stop. If it reverses, it reverses. So if they go above resistance, I'll reverse this. But if they roll over through this box, I'll short another contract. So you want to see which way it goes? We'll find out. Lightning 3 was broken. Resistance is right here. So I got a little bit of leeway just in case they decide to pop this up. Let's see which way it does decide to go. Looks like we're going to get another contract. Yep, we did. Now, quick question for the team. Why is this more than likely not a phantom? Because it didn't go up to mid-band. You got a lower high just then. When you take a phantom and they're just almost like immediately right back in your face, you better just kill it because more than likely they're breaking down. Matter of fact, if you were in the room this morning, this little trade call that comes up in about the next hour was actually called live in the room. Now, if that's a little bit gutsy for you, what I'd recommend if you do this trade is just put your stop right at mid-band. You don't have to reverse it. You can just simply do this. Just bring your stop down to mid-band. And if they take you, they take you. Just turn off the reverse. Okay? But that did break support, so I will jump into a trade like that a lot of times. Simply because when they break support like that, they're probably going to head down some more. And that big red stealth was kind of telling me that too. And technically, you could have drawn a trend line under those lows. See right through there? Now that to me is still a pretty risky trade because, I'm seeing blue and green. I'm not seeing a trend line, even though that broke big time. See what I mean? If you do trend lines like that, you pretty much have to use our other charts so that you don't see that green background. That turned out to be a good trade. Okay. Now, does anybody remember when we opened the room this morning, an exact trade that was actually called live in the room? Watch for those predictors and see if you can't get it. I won't even tell you where it's at. Let's just kill this trade because we'll wait for the trade to come to us. We got a nice trade on that. All right, see predictor right here? Draw you a line. So you have a thrust, retrace, thrust. You got a lower high right here so far. There's predictor right there, a little white predictor, right? See if we can get a trade. That looks like that might roll over, actually. Could you take a shot? Well, too late now. See, it just broke that swing, and they broke it pretty hard. I usually won't chase it when it does that, but if that bar closes down, I might. Too quick. All right, does everybody see a trade on the chart, though? If you just simply look to the left to trade the right, predictor's saying right here's a trade. There's mid-band. There's a swing right here, though, isn't there? Thrust, retrace, thrust. That is your identified swing right there. And if you remember right in the room this morning, that's exactly where I drew on the chart. And here's predictor. And there's that swing. There's one. You see that? There's two. See that? See how it hit my second line? Exactly right there. Those lines were drawn in the room in real time. This is actually showing you a little bit more after the fact of how the trade set up, but these lines were drawn absolutely right here in the room this morning. And could you actually technically go 3 when it rolled over like that? Probably so. And you put your stop just above midband. Okay. Anybody remember how far this thing dropped? But we took it in pieces. See how it kissed midband? Rolls over. Watch it roll over. Remember what we said about, let me turn this down a little bit. That's too fast. Remember what I said this morning in the room about boxing? Boxed it. Matter of fact, we had a little box drawn like that. Everybody remember that? What about 8:30 when it came around? Could you take this in pieces of like 10 ticks? You can do that too. And keep in mind that when you take a rollover, let's say that you took this right here where I drew this line, and it does this little stair step in action, then it starts stair stepping back up. You can get out of that trade when it breaks lightning, and then you can get back into it when you draw your boxes in the right spot. Because these boxes were literally drawn in these exact spots in the room this morning by looking to the left to trade the right and watching predictors. Anybody remember those? Absolutely. Now, Donald, on your question though, when did this actually break and change directions? Let's just kill this. We don't care what it does. I want to just show you how to trade it. Not so much just showing, the trades on the chart. See your high, your low, your higher high. This was pretty much when you draw your lines on your chart. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to break down right here if they break it. But what I normally do is box this little area, and it's either going to be a bounce on a phantom, okay, which you could easily box in, or it's going to be a trend change. Now, if they take out these swings by very much at all, they're going to be a trend change more than likely. Now, you don't have to take it, where we boxed it just a minute ago, because we felt a little bit of heat on that. That was a little bit more of an aggressive trade. But you can see that type of trade, the more you see the thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace, you get like 3 good thrusts, and you can pretty much count on that they're going to pull back some. And if they break those lightning threes, as a rule, they will give you a decent trade. But let's just go with what has been taught so far. Does that look like a good trade? See, we drew the box right there. What about another one? You want to see if we can get another one? All right. You have a high, low, lower high, lower low. So to change trends, they'd have to take this out to the upside, right? Okay. So we're looking for a short trade, correct? But we're going to wait for a little retracement. Let's see if we can get it. Predictor will tell you, by the way. Because what are we going right now? We're going a little bit sideways. You had a predictor trade. You had a predictor trade. You had another predictor trade rollover. Let's see if we can get another one. Or it's just going to break down, and we're going to have to get somewhat of a retracement to get it. There we go. Getting a little retracement. What about that predictor? Anybody? What says the team on that predictor? Anybody at all? Don't think too long, because you'll miss out on a good trade. The color of the background is red. The midband is magenta, right? So aren't we looking for this trade right here? If it just touches that line and rolls, I'm going to grab it. Remember, we had this drawn in the room this morning. That's an aggressive trade, but what about this? What if you just decided, you know what, I'm just going to do a box on my region. Hopefully I can get to it quick enough. And if it breaks that line again, I'm going to simply go short. See, because that was my resistance right there. And this is that rollover that we talk about. Now, what if you said, well, you know what, sometimes I get faked on that. Well, then bring it down one more candle. As long as you got room to the bottom, you're okay. Okay? Use the object type predictor to get in the trade. Absolutely, you can. Now, I personally don't use the predictors as much as I use the trend lines and the boxes. Okay? But could anybody see a trend line on this thing even? What if you said, you know what? If it breaks this trend line, you could pretty much draw this trend line straight up right now. I mean, if it rolls through that line, it's pretty much rolling over, isn't it? What if I just want to touch +1? Bottom of the box, 1 tick. Now I'm showing you this, how to show you how to box at mid-band, because boxing at mid-band can make a world of difference. And by the way, if you draw your lines too, you'll see that we nailed this trade exactly right here this morning at 8 a.m. Remember, everybody? We nailed this one, and we even nailed this one. But what if you miss one? What's the rule? Anybody? You pretty much got to wait for at least a retrace, don't you? So let's just see if we get this one, and then I'm going to see if somebody else can get a retrace, and we'll do it just like we did this one with drawing lines on the chart, predictors. There's our trade. All right, we could get one target out of the way, or we can just take, 10 ticks or so if we want with 2 contracts. This will keep adding up. Okay, put my stop just above the swing. But let's just speed this up a little bit. What if you missed this one? All right, we nailed it. All right, now where's our next trade? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody see the trade on the chart? Predictor drew for you already. It's telling you, hey, look at me. I'm printing right about mid-band. So if you look to the left to trade the right, let's just see what we've got. We got to swing way up here. They're not going that high because you have a high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So maybe here instead. Okay, so let's get ready and see if we can get that trade. Predictor or mid-band, maybe minimum criteria. Well, predictors, Cross, on your question, what I really like about predictors and mid-band is that these predictors really draw very well on the price action. Let's just see if we can get it. I'll take it if it does. We'll do either mid-band or, so we'll not go out the bottom just yet. We'll wait and see if it'll tag up in this box. Predictor's telling us. There's also a swing right over here to the left. I've got my line drawn. There's another swing right here to the left. That's pretty much mid-band, really close. Can you see a trend line just in case it breaks it? You can be ready for even that. It's breaking, not breaking the trend line just yet. Now you can draw it again because it wicked it. Trade's still looking at us, predictor. You have a problem with shorts, Lewis, because of shorts are actually your best trades, truthfully. You can get some really, really nice trades with shorts. Okay, now we're almost running out of time, but I'm going to see if I can get this trade anyway. I'm going to draw a trend line. and I'm going to take it if it goes up in here or if it breaks my trend line. See, I can't use both, unfortunately. Now with the new Object Trader, I'm hoping to be able to use both. Still wicking. Still wicking my trend line, see there? This is actually a very, very good way, by the way, to trade and even add to your trade. Matter of fact, see there, you just got your trade, just nailed it. Okay. Now, could I actually add on a trend line break with wedge? Could I do that? Put my target down here near the bottom. See, what I'm trying to show you tonight is you can also even add if you want to, because what I'm doing right here, I'm not going to add 2. I'll add 1 if it breaks that trend line to the downside. Could put my stop just above predictor. Exit on close. And there we just got in 3. Everybody see how you can get these together and actually even do trend line type? Trend lines can make a big difference in your trading. I think you'll be very pleased with trend lines. They work quite well. Now, where should that kiss? Anybody? Right at that line, I'll bet you. I just about bet you. It kisses that line and rolls. See there? Because we drew on our charts properly. And by the way, in the room this morning, this is exactly where these were drawn on those charts. But it's not like they were recorded. It's just that you've got to be able to see them in real time. And drawing on charts is critical to making, a good amount of money trading. But keep in mind, just like I was saying though, don't go doing mid-band trades with that sloppy background. Okay, wow, what a trade. And it is still going, isn't it? We didn't get our targets moved quick enough. What do you think? Pretty good trade, huh? That's the way you do that. And if you were trading this like right now and you said, oh my goodness, this has dropped, it's dropped, what do you do? Well, if you want to, if you're gutsy enough, you can always do a region and take a breakout type trade. But the only way I would take that is if I wasn't in that trade right now would be like a touch outside that and a very, very tight stop. That's the only way. Now, would you take that trade? Probably not. But let me show you something. If it doesn't go back above that swing right there, like so, then it's probably going to go my way. Okay, because what I did is I just basically boxed in and said, you know what? That seems like still a pretty good trade to me. Let's see if it is. Maybe, maybe not. Nope. That's okay. It didn't cost us hardly anything. Look at it. It's going to go out of the box again. Just a little tight on that stop. But that's definitely not bad trading, is it, everyone? And that's what you can do with trend lines and with boxes. And keep in mind the way we designed Object Trader is that you can actually add to these trades as they continue heading down, to give an example. Now, does anybody remember the minimum criteria trade? Let's see if we can get one. I don't know if there's one showed up or not, but let's see. We'll just get our region out of the way. We don't care. And then I'm going to wrap. Minimum criteria is right here and above here. That looked like minimum criteria, actually. It was so close. Yep, it was minimum. I'm going to sell it anyway. It's getting lower highs. See if it works. Yep, still worked. Well, maybe. Yeah, it's working. There you go. All right, we just got another one just in with minimum criteria. Okay? All right, everybody have a great evening, and we'll do this tomorrow in the room. And keep in mind that this is not hokey pokey stuff. Anybody that's in here, This trade was called in real time this morning. This trade was called in real time this morning. This trade was called in real time this morning. Everybody remember them? And I mean, when this shotgunned, it was like, oh my goodness. If you had a couple of contracts still sitting on that one, and not only that, we actually even drew on the chart where oil was going to hit its head and very possibly bounce. Does anybody remember where it was? About 39, wasn't it? Okay, so let's do it tomorrow, and let's all have a great evening. Thanks for coming to the webinar. Hope you enjoyed it. And let's see, Paul says, your chart's time scale show the seconds. How do you set that? My time scale? Oh, that must be in the properties. Either that or it's in my Windows setting. It could be in the Windows setting, because Windows can actually make a difference in showing your seconds too. You might go to your clock, Paul, and make sure it's actually showing like your seconds and things like that, because Ninja pulls that off the clock. Look at that, everyone. That was another yellow bar probe right at mid-band. Does anybody remember this trade in the room this morning? I drew a line right here. Anybody remember it? We waited for the thrust, pull back right into the line, and we grabbed a quick long trade. Might have missed it. Nope, I think I got it. Touch my line. There you go. That's my line right there. See where my little support is? Now, that's a little bit more of a gutsy trade, but we called it in the room this morning. Thrust, pull back. And I don't remember if it went up very much at all, but I think it got some ticks on it. We'll fast forward it and see. Yep, got them. Okay. Where's the next trade on the chart? Draw your lines on your chart. See if it's not somewhere in that area. How about that? How about that? Perfect. See, just draw on your charts. Now, would you have taken that trade? Absolutely, you'd take that trade. Okay. Perfect trade. Now, after we closed the room down, did anybody notice how oil just tanked? Yeah, pretty much just tanked. Okay, so we'll do this tomorrow morning, and with the volatility in the markets and everything, I think we'll get some good trades. Does anybody have any final questions before we wrap? Just remember, no trading in this sideways stuff unless you go with the deeper predictors. You don't want to box these in at mid bands at these, because in hindsight, that could have gone 100 ticks. But look what it did. Predictor, predictor, predictor. Okay? And trend line breaks. See there across there? Trend line break. So learn to see those type of things on your chart and use the regions and the ray, the wedge trade, to get some great trades. All right. I'll post this recording in the public area. Paul also, yes. Okay. Thanks everybody for showing up, and we'll see you tomorrow morning in the trading room. All right. Anybody has any questions, just hit me in the morning. Thank you.